All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Untitled Chapter. I'm with the City of Mentor, and we would like to welcome you to the formal dedication of Springbrook Gardens Park. Before we get started, we would like to take a moment to recognize our elected officials and our honored guests. First, we have our Council President and Ward 4 Representative, John Krieger. We have our Council Vice President and Ward 3 Representative, Bruce Landig. We have Ward 1 Councilman Sean Blake. We have Ward 2 Councilman Matt Donovan. We have Councilwoman at Large Janet Dowling. Councilman at Large Ray Kirchner. And Councilman at Large Scott Marn. And we would like to give a nod to former Council President Jim Struna.
One of our last living mayor.
And of course, I want to introduce Mentor City Manager Ken Flapjack. At this time, we invite Council President Krieger to the podium here to share a few words.
Thank you very much. Glad everybody's here. An hour ago it was sunny and no wind, but this is Ohio, northern Ohio. We want to point out the importance of this park. Later on, I know that a little brief history by our city manager and Councilman Marn as far as how long it took us to obtain this property, which was a benefit to the city. It illustrates our commitment to balancing development with green space in the city of Mentor. We now have 15 city parks, 1 lake metro park, 2 state parks, and a preserve in our city. This was, like I say, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to add another 53 acres to our 1,200 acres of preserved parkland. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to the ward councilman whose ward this is in, Councilman Blake.
Thank you, Council President Krieger. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. This is beautiful Ward 1, so I apologize for the wind. We didn't plan for that, but we got rid of the rain. And, when I looked at the weather forecast yesterday, it said 68% chance of rain. I thought, oh no. In the newspaper, I promised only 10%. So I'm glad that it's not raining on us. But this is going to be a beautiful park, designed for a passive use. We have to kind of wait and see what the community usage is before we start looking at, other amenities that could go in here, possibly an all-inclusive playground. We have to wait and see how it matures. But one of the things that really excites me is this pond here. I mean, I was just talking with Ken Kaminsky, our parks director, and he was reading off to me all the fish that are due to be stocked here in a few days. So I bet you by the time this time comes next year, there's going to be some really fantastic fish coming out of this pond. So this is where you can come, bring the kids, enjoy the day fishing, and just enjoy the parks and the trails. This is going to be beautiful. The wildflowers and the trees. Once again, it's a passive use. So, it's going to be the kind of thing that us older people can enjoy. So thank you. And at this point, I will turn the microphone over to our city manager, Ken Flapjack. Ken?
Thank you, Councilman Blake. Not a bad place to have a kite, too, actually, if you would. So one of the things, just a couple of comments, one of the things that we hear a lot about, and I know that it frustrates a lot of members of council, is that we get people who will, from time to time, tell us, well, why does Mentor have to keep building on every single parcel in town that, we're running out of green space, and understand that the way that our city and other cities are zoned, there's not a lot that we can do about people building permitted uses in properly zoned areas. Now, when this property came up, we had an opportunity here, and a lot of thanks we really have to give a great nod to the Schultz family. And Jack Schultz, who is the patriarch of that family, came to the city, and he actually came to Ron Traub, our former economic development director, and he said, hey, we're about ready to maybe call it a career. Would the city be interested? And it took us, and so we sat down in his kitchen with he and his grandson, and I remember the day, and it took all of about 2 days to convince City Council that this was an investment in our future. And to Mr. Schultz's credit, he had a lot of offers on this property from developers who were just itching to turn this into another housing subdivision. And you know, the leadership on council at that time allowed us to move forward. And that was in December of 2014, and we very quickly purchased this property for about $2.5 million. We came back, and that was about 52 acres. We added another 4 acres buying the primary residence here. And we've since invested about $5 million in it so far. So as Councilman Blake said, we're not finished out here. We know that we're going to probably add some restrooms and a few other basic amenities, probably some playground equipment, and hopefully the grass will grow. But you know, we took what was a blank, pretty flat piece of canvas and turned it eventually into some rolling hills that will have prairie grasses and a whole variety of flora out here to be enjoyed. A few people that we want to thank. First of all, again, I nod to the Schultz family and their interest in keeping this as a community treasure for generations to enjoy. On our own staff, our internal staff, Ken Kaminsky, our Parks and Recreation Director, who has overseen this project. Not only that, but some of the actual physical facilities have been renovated by our Parks and Recreation staff, and they've actually moved out here. So we're taking advantage and saving some taxpayer dollars by repurposing some of those facilities. One of our city planners, John McFarland, I don't know if John is here, but hey John, great credit goes to him. He did the initial layout of this facility. Nice job. We also have to thank the residents of Ward 1 who, through many community get-togethers, helped us tell us how this was going to take shape, told us what they didn't like, told us what they liked about the plan, and that was tweaked along the way, and I'm sure that will occur as we move forward. We want to thank the Lake Metro Park staff who helped us with determine some of the plantings out here and with a few other matters. Ohio Department of Natural Resources, who awarded us a grant for just under $300,000 that will allow for about another $500,000 improvements that will enhance and add about 3 acres of wetlands to this property through this ditch that runs through the predominance of the property. And all of those residents who really weighed in very generously in letting us know what you wanted to see. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ken Kaminsky.
Thank you, Mr. Flapjack. Thank you, everyone, for coming out here today. As the Parks and Recreation Director, I want to thank Council and the City Administration for all their support and everything that they've done for this park and what's going to happen in the future. I think this is going to be a gem of the county, especially when we get done in the next couple years. It's really exciting as the Parks and Recreation Director, and I really look forward to the challenge of making this one of the nicest parks here. She does have it on the leash, so that is good.
This is a dog-friendly park.
It is. I'd like to turn it over now to Ante Lagarsic.
Well, there's really not a lot more to say. We're going to get ready to cut the ribbon here in just a minute, so hang on.
Let's recognize there are a few members of the Schultz family here. You guys want to step forward here? Come on forward, so at least some of the Schultzers are recognized that could make it today. Jack and John Schultz couldn't make it, but these are their siblings, and they ought to be recognized. So we thank your family for the interest in providing the park to the city of Mentor first before a developer. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, we're getting that ribbon ready.
I guess I'll just say this is Hallie and Willow from our Mentor Schools, 2A students coming out of our area here. We're going to let them cut this ribbon.